All right, so again, if you're just joining us, welcome to RPR Commercial. I'm Maggie. I will be your trainer this afternoon. With you in the chat, you have Connie. She is also a trainer. So as we go through the product, if you have any questions, you can talk to her in the chat. Welcome to RPR Commercial. You should see the Miami Realtors website on screen now. Previously, we had some information on a flyer from Allied. Again, if you have any questions, you do have Connie in the chat. She'll be there to answer in real time, so feel free to go into the chat and message her. If you message me directly or privately, I'm not going to see it because I have my screen open to, or I will have my screen open to RPR and I won't be able to see the chat. So make sure that you communicate with Connie via the chat. And if possible, try to make sure that everyone sees the message. Someone else might have the same question, or it might be valuable for someone else to also see the answer to that question. So we encourage you to participate via the chat. Now, RPR is a product that you get from National Association of Realtors. RPR stands for Realtor Property Resource. It is only accessible for realtors. You do not have a consumer facing version of it, so I can't share it with my customer. However, you can generate reports and you can share those with your customer. The commercial side has a handful of reports and we'll be sure to go through all of those today. And then they also have a wealth of information and data. So I do want to show you how you can use RPR to study a specific property, and how you can use RPR to maybe do a little bit of farming and prospecting. There's even data here that we feel is valuable for those agents that are mostly residential. RPR is one of the few products that has commercial data, which is great. So I want to make sure that you understand how to make the best of it. They do also have a mobile application. We talk about the mobile app in a class called Mobile Realtor with Miami. And so if you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend that class as well. We do have recordings. So remember that we have recordings of our classes available on youtube.com/miamitrainers. Connie shared these links and I'm sure she'll share them with you again at the end of class. Our recordings are also posted on miamirealtorslive.com. You can get here using this website or using this link, or once you log into your gateway, you'll see it in the first row. There's an icon. Now, when we log into the gateway, we do have RPR there. If you have not logged into RPR and this is your first time, you do have to register or activate your account basically. So you would go to RPR, narrpr.com, and you would use the button that says create a new account. I'm going to go ahead and just share this link in the chat really quickly, so that if you wanted to, you could open it and bookmark it. It may be difficult for you to try to do things as I'm doing them. We always recommend that you come to class to watch and take notes, and then maybe come a second time. Make sure you're logged in on different devices so that you can watch and follow along and repeat the action or the steps. But we don't recommend doing all of that at the same time. But anyway, you're going to go ahead and activate your account by clicking on Create New Account. You'll enter your last name and you'll use the email address that you supplied on your membership application, because that's the email address we sent them. You can always update that. You would contact RPR and update it with them. How do you contact them? Well, bottom right corner, or bottom left corner, I'm sorry. Bottom left corner, it says contact us. You've got a 1-800 number, or you've got a live chat. In the live chat, and I believe also the 1-800 number, they're available 24/7. So you can always communicate with them that way. All right, so once you have activated that and entered that information, it will not ask you for that information again. You won't have to remember that password. However, I recommend you write it down somewhere and keep it somewhere safe, because you will need that information to log into the mobile application. All right, so we can go ahead and access RPR once you've done all of that through your Miami Gateway. So from miamirealtors.com, you're going to click on Login with the Miami Gateway. It's also right beneath the announcements, Miami Gateway. Okay. And then once you have opened the gateway, you're going to scroll down and it's going to be right down here next to IMAP and Realist. These are your 3 tax roll solution programs. Okay, now they all function a little differently, but they're all going to have tax roll information for you. Now, I do want to let you know that RPR, it is run by the National Association of Realtors, as I mentioned. So they do have data from more than 260 participating associations. So not only can you study and review a property and do some farming and prospecting here, but you can also potentially find listings from around the country here as well. So just something to keep in mind. And as mentioned, it does have a residential and commercial aspect to it. So we're gonna go ahead and launch it. It's gonna go and open, okay? And this is our main homepage for RPR. Usually it is on the residential side. So if you notice on the left-hand side, I've got a button that I can toggle between residential and commercial. Okay, so this is our starting point. This is our starting home screen. We've got the logo in the top left corner. You should see your office logo or the Miami Realtors logo. You have home, which will always bring you back here. You have research, okay, where you can do or jump to a property search. You can do a map search, a neighborhood search, the neighborhood and school search, as well as obviously residential market activity. These are all residential. You then have commercial site selection, commercial map insights, and how to research. They've got a little video for you. Under marketing, you have prospecting for residential clients, prospecting for commercial clients, creating a residential property flyer, or creating a commercial property report, as well as other marketing tips. Under reports, I am going to see all of the reports that are available. I did go ahead and create some reports beforehand just so that we wouldn't have to waste any class time waiting for them to generate, because they can take a few minutes. So you'll notice that mine have an orange circle with the number 1 to let me know that I have recently created reports and they are ready to be opened. You also have the bell. So there is a notification bell that goes off when your report is ready. Kind of sounds like a doorbell. You can turn this on and off by toggling this button. Under Learn, you have some videos that they have. You also have some frequently asked questions. They also have realtor insights. And then you can click on View More Ways to Learn or search for quick answers. So these are resources at your disposal. You also have help. This is the 1-800 number I mentioned, the live chat, and then training opportunities, as well as their email address. Under My Work, you're gonna have your markets, which we will be setting up shortly, your listings, any properties you've saved, any properties you've recently looked at, your reports, your notes, your saved searches, your recent searches. Anything that says recent in RPR is usually saved for 30 days. As you can see, you can save properties and you can save searches, but if you do not, it will kind of wipe everything clean once it reaches that 30-day mark. I've got my picture in the top right corner with a small arrow. If I click on that, I can go into my profile and settings, and I can set that up, which we will be doing shortly. As mentioned, you can toggle between residential and commercial really easily. They recently updated RPR, and so this is one of those updates. It's very easy to switch between one side and the other, and it is much faster than it used to be. You can search for properties by address, by place, by tax or folio, by MLS number. You can then use your type or status to look for sales or for leases, or if you're doing some farming and prospecting, to search for properties using just public record data. You have MLS statuses down here right beneath that. In property type, these are the commercial property types they have available. By default, everything is usually selected, but you can quickly select and deselect using those checkboxes. You have price, which is self-explanatory. You have building for square footage and leasable square footage. You also have lot. And if you wanted additional filters, you can click on filters and it'll kind of open up and expand for additional filters, which will include filters that we already saw. But in addition to the filters that I already discussed, you also have distressed, which is foreclosure. You have land use. You have some miscellaneous fields like the owner name, year built, time owned. You have keyword search, which will search the remarks. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close this up just by clicking on filters again. You have shortcuts. This is also new. Your shortcuts allow you to jump to specific actions like prospecting for clients, search using the map. If you're very visual, you can use the map. You can jump to your reports, investor analysis. We do have a class called Working with Investors where we discuss this investor analysis, and basically it allows you to add in the numbers for cost and how much They're paying for the property up front to see if it is going to be a worthwhile investment and what their return on investment will be, so their ROI year after year. Opportunity zones, if you wanted to search in opportunity zones, they have all of that data here in RPR. You can create a CMA. That is more for the residential side. You can look for comparables here by simply searching for those closed sales, but you cannot generate a quote unquote CMA for commercial properties, not on RPR. And then you have a tour of the home page. Because it's new, they've got a little tour button. You can click on it whenever and it's going to walk you through the screen. Right beneath that, I have my markets. Again, we'll be setting that up shortly. And then you'll see your map with that activity mapped out for you. Beneath that, you have your listings, current and previous. You have your properties, anything you saved, anything you recently viewed, your reports and your notes. Under searches, you have saved searches and you have recent searches. Okay. If I keep scrolling down, you have RPR's Facebook discussion group, you have your help information again, and you have on-demand training. They have videos, they have workshops, they have a great blog. And you also see a little link to the blog down here. But you have some additional training resources from RPR directly all the way here at the bottom. All right, so let's start with our profile. If I go back up to the top right and I click on that small arrow next to my picture, or if you haven't loaded your picture, it should be your initials. You can go ahead and click on profile. Now here you can upload or change your picture. You can upload or change your logo. You have your contact information. Okay, you have your title, your office information. You also have phone numbers, and as you can see, it says add more, so you can add multiple phone numbers and multiple fax numbers. You have your email, again, it says add more, and you can add in multiple email addresses. And then you have website. You can add in, as you can see, multiple, just as I have. So I have the office, I have my Proxio showcase, and I have my website. So you can just simply click on add more and then continue to add in that information. If you really wanted to, you could even add in your social media for business this way as well. Under MLS, let me scroll back up. Under MLS or CIE info, you should see Realtor Association of Miami down here. If you don't, you're going to select the state. Okay, and then select from the drop down and enter your license. But again, you should, once you've registered and activated your account, you should see Realtor Association of Miami. If you belong to multiple associations, because perhaps you have secondary membership elsewhere, you can add them in this way as well. You have your license number, which you can enter. It is optional in the state of Florida, but I know that it is required in other states. You have assistant users. You can add in up to 3 assistants. They must have their own license though. After that, you have the option to receive RPR updates and news. If you don't want to, you can just remove that. But you do have to obviously read and agree to their terms of use and privacy policy. And then you'll go ahead and click on save. I do want to point out, while this is saving, that if at any point in time you wanted to change the password for whatever reason, you can do so here. You can also make sure that you have the correct time zone. You can connect your zip form if you're using zip form. That is not a product offered through Miami Realtors. It is independent, but it's the only one that RPR has a working relationship with. And then just to make sure that your account isn't being accessed where it shouldn't be, you have the devices that are used to access your account. Okay, let me close this out. All right. Now that we are done with the profile, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, it says profile, which is what we currently updated. And then we have settings right next to that. If I click on settings, blue and red, blue is residential, red is commercial. It is asking for me to set what I consider to be a new listing. This doesn't affect the data that I see. If it is within the parameters of what I place here, it's just going to put like an extra little tag that says new. But if it's active, I'm going to see it if that's what I'm searching for. So again, it doesn't limit your results. It's just going to change how it's displayed and what's going to have that additional little tag or not. So you do have the option of setting your listings as new or considering them to be new, anywhere from a day all the way to the last 30 days. I usually leave it at 7. Recently closed sales, again, if I ask for closed sales, I'm going to see them. But if I say that recent sales are sales that occurred within the last 180 days, because that's what we look at for comps in on the residential side, I'll see all the closed sales, but those sales that occurred in the last 180 days will also have a label that says recently sold. I also have the same options for commercial, 7 days or 180 days. I can add in markets. Okay, there used to be a limit to this, and now you can add in quite a few. So let me remove a few to show you. If I wanted to add in a market, I'm going to go ahead and type in the city or the zip code or even the neighborhood. There you go. So I would just look. It's very easy. You're just going to click on it once it shows up on the drop down, and it's going to pop into your list of markets. I'm just adding in the cities where we have offices basically, but you would be adding in your markets. I do want to show you that if it is a neighborhood, for example, Brickell, it's not a city and it's got 3 different zip codes. You can use neighborhoods. As you can see, Brickell and Miami, really easy. All right, so once you are done adding in your cities and your markets, whether that be by city, zip code, or neighborhood, you are going to go ahead and just leave it be. It's automatically saved. Now, if at any point in time you wanted to remove one of them, there is the remove option right here, remove, and it just deletes it. It's really easy. Okay, so as you can see, while I was talking to you and explaining, I was able to add multiple cities. Okay, once you're done, if you just want to make sure everything is saved, you're going to click on save in the top right corner. And that's it. Your profile and your settings and markets have been set up. All right. Now, let's go ahead and go back to the home screen so that we can start talking about how you can study and analyze a specific property in the MLS, not in the MLS, in RPR. So I'm going to go ahead and click on home. I've already saved this, so I'm not worried about it. And I'm going to give it a chance to go back home. There we go. All right. Now, again, the markets that we had worked with are over here on the left-hand side of the map. Okay, and you can see what's going on in each of those markets. And you can also, if you don't want to go back into the settings, you can add and edit them from the map as well. All right, so let's say I was looking for a specific property. I'm going to go ahead and use our Coral Gables office, and I'm going to type in the address. And that's all I've got to do. 245 Alcazar. I hit enter, and it's going to pop it up. There you go. Okay, now this is the information that's presented for a commercial property, and this is obviously off market. If it were on the MLS, we would see that MLS information up at the top along with the address. If I click, so right now it's in Street View. If it were an MLS listing, I would see the MLS photos, Street View, and overhead. So Street View is Google Street View, which allows me to kind of click on it and look at the surroundings. And then overhead is just going to give me the overhead satellite view. So I can switch between Street View and overhead. Now, to the right of the address, I have the option to save this property. Because I opened it, I'm going to see it in my recent properties. But if I want to make sure I can get back to it, even after that 30-day window, I can go ahead and I can save it. When you save it, you can save it with the address, or you can name it something different and then click on save. And you'll see it says added to saved. Remember, all of your recent activity, anything that you do, you're going to find under my work. So I save that property. If I click on my work, here are my saved properties. That is where I'm going to find this property that I just saved. I can click on print, which is going to, there you go. Let me show you. It's kind of condensing everything to print what's on screen. Okay. Let me go back. If I click on create a report, I can then create one of the 3 commercial reports that are available, which is the property report, the trade area report, or the trade area analysis. Okay. The residential side has quite a few reports. And again, in the residential class, which we will have this afternoon after this class, we do go over those reports as well. All right, I'm gonna go back to the property. As you can see, there are some breadcrumbs up here in the left, on the left-hand side, and you can use those breadcrumbs to kind of trace your way back. All right, so what information do we see? We've got the pictures, as I mentioned. If it's on the MLS, you'll see that as well. You've got these 3 dots. It's gonna allow you to kind of close that out if you don't wanna see it. So anytime you see these 3 dots in RPR, it's going to allow you to expand or collapse that card. Sometimes there are things that we're not interested in seeing that aren't really important to us in that moment. We can go ahead and close it so that it's easier to find and see what we do want to see. We have the map. If I click on it, this isn't just the map location. It's going to give me some interactive map tools. So if I click on this, okay, here is the property. My mouse indicator doesn't want to cooperate, but here it is. It's right over here. And as you can see, I've got some activity of what's going on in the area. I can draw and search in this area for other things, other like similar properties, etc. On the right-hand side, I've got the plus and minus, which is to zoom in and out. I've got the bullseye, which is to kind of move the map back. I've got this little, I don't want to call them crosshairs, but it's like 2 X's that are crossed. That is to kind of open up the map so that you can see it full screen and work with it a little bit better, which is also new and I love. You have your view, which allows you to change from what we currently have, which is the road view, to satellite, aerial, or terrain. You can draw on the map, freehand, radius, polygon, or box. Again, if you want to just jump from studying this property to running a search in the area. You have driving, which will give you travel time. You can measure distance or see traffic counts. Traffic counts are great for commercial, especially if you're working with someone who wants to open a business and they are concerned with traffic and visibility. Traffic counts will tell you how many cars drive down that street on a daily basis. POIs, I've heard them also called POIs. Those are points of interest. Okay, and so you can go ahead and check off the points of interest and they will be populated on the map. For example, maybe I want to see restaurants and bars. I know there are quite a few here. Here's a little, it's like cutlery, a little knife and fork. If I click on it, it's going to tell me the name of the business. It's going to tell me how many employees, the sales volume, what industry or category, the square footage of where that business is housed, where the data came from, and how often they update that data. Okay, so again, that comes from POIs or POIs. I've heard it pronounced both ways, points of interest, and you can go ahead and check them off and the map will populate with that information. If you want to get rid of it, you click on it, click clear, and it's going to erase it. Sometimes there's a lot going on the map and you just want to narrow it down. You also have school information. You can add in public, private, charter, elementary, middle, and or high school, and it will populate on the map. You have data layers. Okay, so that you can see things like average family size. The layers are organized by category. So you have demographics, you have residential real estate indicators. I know this is commercial, but obviously the residential sphere does influence the commercial sphere. And then we have flood zones. At the very end, I have the legend. So if I don't know what all of these little icons mean, I can click on that legend at any time and open it up and see what that means. So all of these, like I've got a little blue dot over here, that means for sale. If I click on it, okay, there we go, it's active, it's commercial, and it's for sale. Okay, and I see a little bit of information. And it says multiple listings, so I can jump and go from the property that I'm studying to something else. If I don't want to, there's a little heart, I can save it and I can say, okay, I'm gonna look at it later once I'm done with this property. All right. I'm going to close out the map. So I just wanted to show you that a lot of times we see maps in these products and they're just there to kind of point out the location. But this map is highly interactive and you have additional tools. All of the tools and all of the things I pointed out to you are also available when you use the map search. So remember that up here, when we went to research, there's a commercial map insights. Okay, it's going to take us to that map and it's going to search, but it's going to be focused on that map. Okay, additional resources. Here is that Valuate tool. That is the investor analysis that I mentioned. Valuate is a separate company. And again, it's tied, or you have a link from here to that Valuate tool. We do discuss this in the class Working with Investors, but you would click on Analyze Property. Okay, they have a little training, view training. You click on Continue. And I think they let you have 5 analyses saved at a time. So if you wanted to create a 6th one, you would just have to delete one and then create a new one. Okay, but you would fill out all of your information, submit, and create your analyses. You have property information, you have property facts from the public record. If it were on the MLS, you would also have a column for MLS data, and then a column that says your changes. It's basically where you could take notes. So if you see any discrepancies, let's say I go to the property and I'm looking and it says one thing in the public record or one thing on the MLS and I'm seeing something else, I can take notes and I can kind of record my observations. Under my updates, you have your notes, so you can add a note here, and you can also take pictures. So here you would add photos from your computer. I'm on my laptop right now, but if you were on the mobile app, you could actually open the property up on the mobile app and take pictures, take your notes there as well, and also record voice memos. And you would see that information when you log into the computer. Your notes are only for you. So whatever you decide to write here is only visible to you. It does not affect the experience another user has in RPR with that property. We have notes here again, so I can click on that little plus symbol, expand it, and take my notes. And then if I want to include it in my reports, I can check this off. If I don't want it in my reports, I'm going to remove that check mark. We've got the tenants, okay, and we also have the history of tenants. If you're there physically, you can also, again, take notes and add tenants that you see. You have your interior features, your exterior features, your location details, owner facts, legal description, again, notes available in multiple sections, tax information, okay? And then on the right-hand side, beneath the map and the Evaluate tool, you have the notes and photos that I mentioned. You have the historical records for this property. So if it were listed in the past, you would see the historical record of every listing. And then this is some information for that zip code. So population change, median age, female versus male ratio, married versus unmarried, adult ratio, average household size, household income, disposable income, etc. Again, comes in handy if you're working with someone who is looking to open some sort of business. So if I wanted to create a report with this property's information, I would click on Create Report in the top right corner. Okay, I would click on Property Report. It says approximately 9 pages. If I click on View Sample, this is just a hypothetical generic sample of the report and how the information will look. If I click on the plus symbol right next to that, I can then remove pages. So as you become comfortable with the system, you can start to say, well, I don't really need this in my report, and you can just remove it by removing the check mark. For each of the pages, though, you'll see a little eye, and if you hover, it will give you a hypothetical example of what that page looks like and the information on that page. Okay, I remove the schools. You can add or remove. Subject property photos, okay, you can include them all, just 2 pages. Sometimes there's a lot of pictures, or the main photos. Distance, sorting, traffic count. Do you want to include your notes or not? You can personalize the report by including the recipient's name, and then you can display it now, which will create and load the report here in RPR, and then you can save it to your computer and email it, or you can email it immediately and CC yourself. Okay, you click on Run Report. Now, I already created this report, so I'm going to go to my work, my reports. Okay, and it's going to take me to that tile on the home screen. Here's the report for the commercial property report. And it is 7 pages. So I have the main page with the information from my profile. The picture that you see here is going to be Google Street View. If it's on the MLS, it would be the primary picture from the MLS. We have all of the properties information. So everything that we saw previously, the tenants, okay, public facts, assessed value from the tax record, the map, the different aerial views, traffic counts that I mentioned. Okay, and then at the very end, there's an explanation of what RPR is and where they get their data. You as a realtor may understand this, but if I'm generating this report for a customer, an investor, they may not necessarily know about RPR, what it is, what it does. So this would be a great page that allows you to explain why it's such a great tool and why this information is valuable and how it is gathered. Okay, so this is the property report. Again, once you're ready to share it, you can download it onto your device. You can email it. If you're on the mobile app, you can also see your recent reports and create reports on the mobile app, and you can email them, text message them, WhatsApp them. If you're doing like a market study, or maybe this is a property that you have listed, you can even post it to social media. Okay. All right. So that was how to use RPR to study one specific location. I can also use RPR to pull listings. So RPR has partnered up with Crexi and Bermudas. They also have commercial MLS data. They have commercial listings. And so you have a wealth of information here for commercial that you might not have elsewhere. So for example, if I'm looking for warehouses in Medley, I can go ahead and I can say Medley, Florida. Okay, and I'm looking to buy, so I'm going to say just for sale, and I only want to see active, so I'm going to remove everything else. So under type and status, I only want for sale and active checked off. Under property type, I don't want all of this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say maybe just commercial, or maybe commercial and industrial. You have land, you have office, restaurant, bar, retail, shopping center, special purpose, right? So I've checked off two, commercial and industrial. Price. Let's say my customer doesn't want to spend more than 1.5 million. Building, you can add in a minimum, a maximum, or a range for building square footage. Same with lot. If there's anything else you'd like to add, and realize as I'm entering this, my results are populating down here. If I click on filters, okay, these are the filters that I added. There's price, here's the square footage again, but I also have the distressed option. I have the standard land use. Okay, as you can see, there's quite a few. All right, so it is very specific. Like if I wanted warehouse industrial, I could check that off. And then you'll see what you've selected here on the right-hand side. You can also, again, search by owner name, keyword search. We discussed all of that. Now, I scroll back up and I say update and search over here on the right-hand side. Okay. I gave it conflicting information at some point. So let's take this off. All right. So I've got 14 properties. Okay. Now these are on the MLS. So I have one picture. I have active. So I see that they're all active. Obviously, that's what I asked for. I see what category they belong to, what property type. So commercial, IND is industrial. I see the price and the date. I see the address, the square footage. Okay, and then if I wanted to save individual properties, I've got the heart. Let's say I wanted to save the whole search. Well, up here where I have all of my search filters, there's a heart. And if I click on save, this is allowing me to save the search. So I'm going to go ahead and say commercial / industrial medley. I'm going to go ahead and click save. Whenever I save a search, I'm saving the criteria. So today I have 14 active. Maybe tomorrow I'll have a few more or a few less. It depends on the market. Where do I see my saved searches? Again, anytime that you save or create something in RPR, you would go to my work. And if I click on my saved searches, it's going to kind of pull you back to where it is. And there it is. I click on it. It's going to give me the results. So it'll run the criteria on the spot, the filters, and give me the results. Now, for each of these, by the way, you can view your results in different ways. Again, something new from RPR. So you'll have the list, which is what we currently have. We have our gallery view, which is a thumbnail. And then we have the status and the price, and then some basic information. And then we have lastly map, which would map out the results for us. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the list view. Again, I can go ahead and I can click on any of these to see the details. What I love about RPR is that, again, the breadcrumbs make it really easy to maneuver. So let's say I'm done looking at this one. This isn't going to benefit my search. I can then click on the breadcrumbs right up here and go back to my search results really easily. Okay. So you've got your square footage, your lot size, your year built, your price per square foot, which is great because in commercial, usually you're talking about commercial properties in terms of price per square foot. So you'll have your price per square foot if available. Okay. If I were to click on any of these, let me show you. It tells you where it came from. So remember I said that RPR Commercial has partnerships with Crexi and Bervitas. So in this case, this property came from Crexi. You see where it says office name? So when you open up the listing details, if you're curious as to why certain things aren't populated, certain bits of information, just take a peek where it says office name, and this one came from Crexi. If I click on that link, it's going to open that listing in Crexi, where I may potentially see more information that for whatever reason, just it doesn't sync with RPR. But there you go. It's all of the information. And I don't have to worry about signing up for Crexi. I don't have to worry about creating an account. All I did was click on that link. So again, breadcrumbs up here. I'm going to go back to my search results. So now we know how to save a property to view it later. We know how to save the search to view it later. We know how to study a specific property, and we know how to use RPR Commercial to run a search. Now, let's say I wanted to use RPR Commercial to do some farming and prospecting. Okay, I'm going to go back home. And you can either just start to run your search here, or worst case scenario where it says research, you can always say commercial map insights. By the way, commercial site selection is going to also take you to study an area. So when we're farming and prospecting, maybe we're studying the area for our potential investor, right? And so as you can see, it tells you, or it asks, it poses a question. Where are the right people for a business? So I have an investor that comes and tells me, I really want to open a bar, but I'm not sure what area would be best. You're going to go ahead and you are going to use your research option and go to commercial site selection. Now, you do need a general area. So let's say they tell you, I really want it to be in the Doral area, or I really want it to be in the Gables area. You can go ahead and, let's say Coral Gables, or maybe Fort Lauderdale, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and mark that off. You can also draw on the map. Now, where it says find people using spending and demographic data, the amount of information that you can find on RPR is simultaneously astounding and surprising and interesting. You can say, okay, who are they? So who they are. And I'm going to go ahead and say, let's do age, because it's a bar or lounge or what have you. So we need them to be over 21. We need the population to be over 21. Okay. Now you can add up to 5 of these attributes. So I've got one right here. Let's say I wanted to add more. I'm going to say add more criteria. And I also want not just those who are 21 and older, but I want those who are spending money on eating out and going to bars. So I would say, you have who they are, what they do, where they live, what they buy, and facts and stats. So maybe under what they buy, right? Alcoholic beverages. Lovely. You see, I've got all these options. Great. Awesome. Now, my investor's looking to open a bar, lounge, restaurant, what have you. I need to make sure that it is people who are consuming alcohol away from home. Notice how I have consumed at home. So if I have an investor that wants to open like a little boutique where they sell wine, I can say consumed at home. Well, they've got to buy it somewhere. So those are the people that we're targeting. But this time we're targeting those that consume it away from home. And I say, okay. So now I'm looking for an area in Coral Gables, pockets where people are over 21 and they're consuming alcohol away from home. And I click on run analysis. All right. So what I'm looking at is they've mapped out Coral Gables, but anything that is shaded in dark purple or light purple are going to be my best and better areas. So you see over here on the left-hand side how it says no match, good, better, best. Well, if I'm helping my investor, that's where I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking at the areas that are shaded in that light or dark purple. All right, so if I scroll down, not only do I have the map, but then I have those areas. So the area that comes in at top dollar perfect area is Coco Plum, okay, where 72.8% of the population is over 21, and they are spending, if you see this little dollar symbol, or not dollar, question mark, it'll tell you about the dollar amounts. So average annual household spending on alcohol consumed away from home. So annually they're spending $771 away from home on alcohol, $282 on beer, and $227 on wine. So of all the areas listed in this Coral Gables section, this area is the one where people are spending the most amount of money. So now I can create a report to present my investor. Okay, if you click on this, by the way, you select that specific area, you can now go into searching for listings in that area or searching for anything in the public record. Remember, sometimes commercial listings are not available on our MLS or on Crexi or Bravitas. You can run an analysis, or you can get that trade area analysis report. Okay, so if I go ahead and I click on Get Trade Area Analysis Report, it's going to take me here, and this is a report that has approximately 4 pages, and you would, again, personalize it if you wanted to, decide to display it now, or email it. Okay, I do have one created again because they do take a few minutes. So I want to show you what that report looks like. I click on my work, I go to my reports, it's going to bring me to the home screen. And this is my trade area analysis report. Okay, this was about 6 pages. I did it for Coral Gables in general. And this is what you see, right? So you've got map. I did it based on our office location. You'll have that search result that we talked about listed. So you'll be able to show your investor, hey, this is, you know, how many people are over 21 and how much money they're spending. Okay, and that would be created for you. Let's say you forgot to create the report for something. Remember, you can go to my work. I can then say, let me go to that last search, my recent searches. Here we go. Right? And I can go ahead and I can create it because I've got my recent searches down here. Now, the last one that you have. So again, that was if I went to research and I said commercial site selection to help my investor or business owner, what have you, find the great or perfect locations to open their new business. If I go to research and I click on commercial map insights, it's going to take me to that map. And remember, I mentioned all of these map tools. It's basically a search that you can run with the map as like the center or pivoting point. Okay. Now there's one more report that I do want to show you. Okay, and you can just go to your reports, and it is the trade area report. Okay, the trade area report is a little bit larger, and this is the report that is great for residential and commercial agents. So in this case, it's based off of 33134, which is Coral Gables. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you. You have my recent reports here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Okay, so that trade area report, I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, you can delete the report from here. You can post it on Facebook, as I mentioned, or I can say run the report again so that it updates information. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. This one is a little bit longer, but it has really great information. So for that 33134 zip code, you have the median household income, the median age, total population, and the most dominant segment. So they have information from Esri, which is a Fortune 500 like top data mining company. They take data and they organize it into patterns that work for different businesses or for different purposes. In this case, for commercial real estate. So RPR went ahead, and with that Esri data, they have this tapestry of, different segments. What they did was they grouped people and they analyzed their behavior and spending habits, and they give you a very accurate picture of what the people in that area do, how they behave, what they spend their money on. This is good for commercial and residential, and here's why. These are the top segments for that area: urban chic, southwestern families, Emerald City, city lights, young and restless. Those are the top 5. If I scroll down, I now have an entire page dedicated to those 5 segments. So the number 1 largest segment in this area is what they call urban chic. It's 26% of the people in this area. It's 1.3 of the United States in general, overall. Now, where it says who we are, it tells you who these members of urban chic are, right? So they are professionals. They live in a sophisticated, exclusive lifestyle. Half of the households are occupied by married couples with families, and about 30% of them are single. They are busy, well-connected, well-educated. They are avid readers, moviegoers, environmentally active, and financially stable. This market is a bit older, with a median age of almost 43, growing slowly but steadily. So what does a neighborhood of urban chic look like? That's going to be under our neighborhood. So more than half of the households are going to include married couples, as mentioned. 30% of them are single. The average household size is slightly lower than the average for the country, which is 2.37. The homes are going to be pre-war to recent construction, high-rise to single family. So a little bit of everything. Over 60% of the households are living in single family homes, and more than 1 in 4 live in multi-unit. So it breaks it down. Now, here's the really interesting part. Socioeconomic traits, okay? Their unemployment rate is well below. Residents are employed in white-collar occupations. Over 40% receive more income from investments. Market profile. This is, whether you're residential or commercial, this is going to tell you how to market to the people in that area. So they shop at Trader Joe's, Costco, or Whole Foods. Maybe I need to start making my shopping trips centered around those 3 in that area. They eat organically, they like good coffee, they travel, they prefer to drive luxury import cars. They embrace city life. They are book readers, both digital and audio. So what does that tell me? That if I'm going to market to this specific segment, maybe I need to make my marketing more digital than traditional paper. There are other segments that behave differently. And so this is why I'm saying that this report is great for your residential and commercial agents, or resi-mercial. You do a little bit of both. Because if you pull this report for your market, it's going to allow you to understand how to market and how to appeal to that specific segment, which, again, tons of great information in this report. So the second segment, which is a little less than 20%, is Southwestern families. Well, let's see. They still have landlines. So if I market to an area where the segment is primarily Southwestern families, then maybe I need to find those contact numbers, those phone numbers, so that I can call them and talk to them, and maybe they prefer a more traditional one-on-one marketing approach. So you can use this to market yourself to those that are potentially selling and or buying, and then you can guide yourself that way. So now we've seen all 3 reports, right? But if I decide to go back home, and let's say I want to farm and prospect, I want to find all the warehouses and I want to send them a flyer to let them know I'm a commercial agent, to see if they need a property manager, or if they want a list to sell, or if they're looking for tenants. I can go ahead and I can pop in an area. So let's say Medley, right? Let's go back to Medley, because I know there's tons of commercial there. And instead of the sales, I want public record. I don't want any of the for sale stuff. And I want people who have had their warehouse or bought it 10 years ago, let's say. So where it asks for a date, I'm going to go ahead and say 01/01/2010 to December of 2011. So I'm going to look at a 2-year span of sales. That's the last sale. And I'm going to see if I can then appeal to them to see, do you need a property manager? Do you need to list? Are you looking for a tenant, etc.? Property type, again, you can select them all. You can select just some. So I'm going to say commercial. I don't need the price to save the price from last time. And now I can go ahead and I can say, let's look and see what commercial properties I've got. It doesn't have any for the dates. So let's go ahead and let's say just anybody who's purchased from 2010 to now. I've got 2 properties, which is fine. I'm going to switch to the list here. What I want to show you is that once you're done entering your criteria, and when we farm and prospect, it's like going fishing. Sometimes you enter certain criteria and you get a nibble. Sometimes you enter certain criteria and you get no results. But what I wanted to point out is that you can select your results once you're done farming, entering that criteria. And you'll notice that on the right-hand side, you have mailing labels. So I can create mailing labels and then I can send out my flyers, my postcards, what have you. When you click on mailing labels, you can either create them in CSV format, which will open in Excel, or as a PDF. You can select from Avery 5160, 5161, or 5162. And then where is this going? Well, in commercial, we're not going to send it to the property because there's usually a tenant there. We want it to get to the owner. So we're going to say tax billing address. Eliminate duplicates just in case someone has more than one. I don't want to send them more than one flyer. I'm going to address it to the owner and or current resident, to just the current resident, or I can customize. The filters here for owner occupied and absentee owner don't apply to commercial. That's more for residential. Okay. You can exclude listed properties so that you don't accidentally send something to some listing that already has an agent. You can exclude properties that are on the do not mail list, and you can exclude properties that have incomplete addresses for whatever reason. And then you click on print and it's going to run your labels for you. Okay, so I did want to show you that you can farm and prospect and then create mailing labels. You do not have contact information here though. Okay, but you can farm and prospect the traditional way by printing those mailing labels and then sending them a postcard, a flyer, a letter, what have you. Okay, and that is officially the end of RPR Commercial using the new refreshed RPR. If you have any questions, Connie had been in the chat answering your questions, but if you have any questions that you want to address now before we finish the class, I would be more than happy to answer those. If not, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you again for attending.